We are live. We'll wait for our guests to join us momentarily here. So I hope everyone is enjoying their day. So we can get started in just a few minutes. Welcome everyone to Coping with COVID. We've been doing this for a while now, and we're looking forward to our special guest for today, which she's just joined, and I will get her to actually send a request, and then we can get everything started. Here we go. Let's see. Now we have her here with us. Hey, hello, Yolanda. How are you? Glad you joined. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's so good to see your face.
I know, you too. I haven't seen you in a couple of years. I think Atlanta last year. So
Yes, Atlanta last year. Just to give everyone a little bit of context with Angharad and our relationship, we've known each other for probably 10 years now,
yep.
I think. I feel like we've grown up together in regards to our professional careers. We've seen each other go from different places, from different states. So I think it's a really interesting time for us. And then when I was thinking about who to bring on as a guest, I know that the background that you have, especially with internal communications, that you would be the perfect guest to talk about what we're hearing, in the industry and some of the things that we can relate to our viewers, some tips and just some strategies that they can take back to their workplace. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So
super
I want you to kind of introduce yourself, because I'm the guest, everyone. If you haven't joined us before, I'm Katie Kern with Media Frenzy Global, agency partner, and we have been so intentional about this program, Coping with COVID. We've been doing it for probably 5 weeks now, and the response has been great. There's been a lot of great conversations happening around, how we can help. And that's the intent of Coping with COVID, is to help industry professionals, during this time period, whether it's talking about, how to stay creative. I had Lee Dees Brown on last week, and it was great catching up with her and a lot of the creative strategies that she's working through. And then also talking about diversity and inclusion and how important that is to make sure that that's still relevant during this time as well. And there's a lot of other topics that we're going to be really communicating with our viewers in the future weeks to come. That's just going to be, most importantly, helpful, and so that people can really kind of take back to their workplace, some really great strategies and ideas. So I want to introduce you, let you introduce yourself, and just kind of tell people, what you do and just kind of your journey.
Yeah, so I'm currently right now consulting, mostly doing consulting and strategic communication. So encompassing everything from internal communications and external PR marketing strategies. I'm pursuing my master's at the same time. So kind of balancing work and education, which is always important kind of mid-career going back to school. I started in PR and I've always worked in PR and marketing, lifestyle brands and nonprofits, fashion industry, food and beverage, and moved into the healthcare sector in 2018. Worked at the American Academy of Neurology with 36,000 neurologists. And so a lot of research in healthcare, kind of understanding that industry, which of course is very important right now.
Yes, absolutely.
And then found a passion really for employee engagement and the impact that employees and internal communications has on a company and a communications plan. And so so recently I've been studying a lot and doing a lot with internal communications, especially.
So I've been doing a lot of reading as of late. Right now, 63% of employees are looking to their employers for daily briefings about COVID, which I thought was less like that was kind of a little bit unexpected to me, because I felt like I didn't know if they would, you know, employees would see their employers as a trusted resource, but they do. And that was, you know, whether it's daily updates or weekly updates, there's just this need that employees are looking for that, you know, from their employers. And I think that the internal comms piece is so important as it relates to just keeping people informed about what's going on during this pandemic.
Yeah, I think that, so you're seeing internal comms have a huge resurgence. So we kind of used to think about it as, oh, we're going to put out a fluffy message about the CFO or a new organizational change, or here's your healthcare update, or by the way, we launched a product, you know. But now internal communications is literally something that's sort of like keeping everyone going, right? So, and they're absolutely looking for daily updates. And I think that what you've touched upon throughout a lot of your COVID is that there's a lot of authenticity that employees are looking for. It needs to be truthful. You also need to have empathy. You know, everybody's dealing with very different situations, whether it's
absolutely
home, you know, trying to parent and work from home, or, you know, you need to have a lot of empathy with this communication. Daily it really helps. We're under a lot of stress. We have a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of unknowns. And then I really encourage part of your internal communication plans as you're building, you know, even if you're doing daily briefings, is work on tactics that engage your employees. So don't just tell them what's going on, but you know, you could do pulse surveys. That's a really great quick way. How are you feeling today? You know, or you could be more creative than that. You know, maybe a funny question. But, you know, really engage with your employees as you're providing these updates and information, because it is an unknown time. There's no playbook. We can't look at history. We can look at some things in history, but we can't, you know, the economy, we can't really predict anything. And so employees are looking to their employer and saying, hey, what's the update today? When are we going to go back to the office? What do you think about working from home? How's our health? Can I get telehealth? Where's our mental health? Like, there's all these aspects, right? So
yes, absolutely.
Really
and Sarah, she's like, polling. Yes, polling I think would be a great, you know, tactic to integrate into your, you know, your strategy, because I think that right now we're all feeling a little anxious, and we want to make sure that we do right by our, you know, employees, because they're so vital to our business. I think there has been so much more of a focus on our external stakeholders than our internal stakeholders.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we have some sort of strategy in place. So I have a question for you. So given the changes in the last couple of weeks as states open up, how are intercommunication professionals adjusting and modifying to an employee comms plan?
Yeah, I think that, so we've kind of, one thing that, what is great about, unfortunately, COVID has brought more of attention to internal communications, is that we need to be more strategic about putting internal communications into everything we do, right? So if you're launching a product, you're including internal communications, because employees are the heartbeat of your organization, right?
Absolutely.
That was a quote from a Forbes piece recently on employee engagement. And they are the most authentic brand ambassadors you have. So right now, how your employees are feeling about your brand and your company and your communication is going to transcend into how they engage with you on LinkedIn, how they promote your product, all of it. And then eventually that will lead to revenues and sales and brand reputation. And so how it's changing, though, is like you had touched upon before, is that we are doing daily communication. So before, internal communications was like the ugly stepchild, right? Like, oh, we'll get to that. But right now you have to include it. I mean, if you're not doing it daily, at least weekly, right? Doing a weekly recap. Here's where we are. You know, talk about revenue, talk about your quarterly reports, be open and be truthful, right? I think you're going to earn a lot of trust that way.
Yeah.
And skirt around the fact that if revenue's dropping, or if there's a challenging sector, that, you know, engage with your employees. And also, employees are great resources. They happen to be, I say one great thing about internal communications is that it really helps, again, bridge those gaps and silos. And so if you want to problem solve, engage more employees. Don't just think, oh, it's just PR.
Yeah.
Bring in somebody from the outside, bring somebody from another team, engage them. It's a great opportunity for that as well. And so I think adjusting the way that we think about internal communications and the impact employees have as stakeholders, like really see them as stakeholders.
Yeah.
I think you'll see a lot more authenticity and some really positive content being created if you engage those employees. And
no, that's really interesting, because I know that just kind of thinking about just how we're engaging, that messaging that we actually have to craft and put together and communicate to our employees. Before, it felt a little bit kind of stale and a little bit not authentic and not to where it felt relatable. Now we have companies where everyone's working from home. You actually get to see the backgrounds of where people are living, their living spaces.
yeah,
Also, you get to see that people have kids, and the kids are engaging, kind of coming into, conversations or meetings, unexpectedly.
yeah.
So I think that how do we tailor our messaging so that it feels more like I'm relating to you. I'm very not sympathetic, but empathetic with what's going on, because I'm experiencing it too. This is from the top down. This is not just, an issue with, a certain segment of, a company. It's everyone is being impacted right now. How can we make sure that our messaging is authentic and it's on brand?
Yeah, so I was thinking a lot about this question, and I was thinking about ways that, you're completely correct. We are engaging even at a higher executive level. You see, you get on a conference call and there's, your CEO's kitchen in the background, for example, right? So, and then you're like, oh, look at that knife that they use. Like you're really getting to know people.
Yeah.
But I think providing resources and really feeling some of the challenges that people are going to be having right now, whether it's working from home or slowly going back into the office. I was thinking about, very straightforward timelines, as we engage with our employees. What is our timeline? And just be straightforward about it. I don't know our timeline, but we are aiming for A, B, and C. Really relate to them working from home. What can we do as a company to make your working from home space better? So is it like, you need a technology check-in? Hey, we've got a great tech team.
That's a great one.
Is your computer working? Are you having trouble? You're not quite getting the Zoom. You're always ends up hanging up in the middle of the call. How can we help you? What resources do we have that we can provide that to you so that you have a better experience working from home or adjusting to these times?
No,
so
that's great. That's so great, because I actually see that there's a lot of CEOs that are actually kind of blogging their experience and kind of saying, this is what life is like for me working from home. And so they're posting them on the actual company website page. And so their employees and external stakeholders are being able to see, hey, we're dealing with the same thing. We're, empathetic to what's happening, and we're all in this together. And I think that should be kind of the common theme here, is that we're all in this together.
Yeah, and there's a real human aspect that we're exposed to now with working from home, right? Like kids just suddenly hopping on your lap, or a dog suddenly, knocking something down, and you're just really exposed to all these. You're all related, and you're reminded that you're all human, right? So from CEO down, you're all human, and there's these human things happening in the background. And so it's called the great equalizer now, right? You hear that a lot, and it is. We're all trying to deal with very similar things, and so I think this is an opportunity to really build that trust with your employees. If you were losing a little bit of that trust, or like you said, stale messaging, this is a great time you can be a little quirky, you can be honest, and build that trust. Use this as an advantage to build that brand recognition within your employees, because it will transcend into your external communications, and people are going to believe and want to follow and purchase those brands that are really showing that they are engaging with their employees, they're empathetic with their employees. So it will trickle down. All of this kind of comes together, and I think can have a positive impact on your company.
Absolutely. And speaking of positive impact, I don't want to dismiss, I know that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of us, especially working from home, not being able to go out, hearing the news, there's so much that's going on right now, whether it's COVID related or anything that's happening in our communities. We're all feeling the effects from that. And mental health plays a huge role in
Yeah.
this as well. And it's something that, you know, companies have to be a lot more responsible about people's mental health, because if they are strong, their mental health is strong, of course, they're going to perform at their best. So how is that something where we can do that? You know, I'm not saying that, you know, companies have to bring on, you know, psychologists or psychiatrists per se, but I think there needs to be some sort of just understanding that happens when something like this so drastic happens in our lives, that it's being considered.
So I'm really proud of, I've kind of consulted with a couple of companies, and I also was listening into one of my husband's calls when they do safety shares. And part of their safety shares have included their mental health resources, and they're really honing them in. So I would tap into and make sure that you're including your resources that are available. Almost every insurance provides telehealth mental health resources. Most of them will at least have a couple of sessions for free. And of course, there's a lot of other resources out there. There could be some great blogs that, you know, kind of a quick check your mental health, check how you're doing. But I think it's really important, absolutely. And we were talking a little bit about this earlier, is that use your telehealth and make sure that it's communicated with open arms, right? So it's not, it's not a side thought. It's not, oh, by the way, it's not sort of like, I mean, if you're really struggling, use this. No, like, we have this great resource. They're wonderful. Give them a call, send them, a lot of them have apps. Send them connection to the app, include them into your employee communications. I was also thinking about when you do a lot of employee communications, one thing that I always try to think about is 2 and 3 steps ahead. So the second and third degree of all of our actions, or all the things that are going on. And when I'm helping kind of develop these messaging, I always like to include an FAQ, especially if it's executive level messaging or a message that's coming from above. Anticipate the questions that might be asked. And mental health is one of those questions, sort of like, hey, what if I'm struggling? You know, have those FAQs and have those answers ready ahead of time. Don't wait.
Yeah.
And so you can provide those, you know. If you get ahead of the game, I think that it really shows, again, that you're thinking about your employees.
No, I think that's so just spot on right now, because, you know, there's just so much that's going on, you know, in the world in general. We're all feeling it. We're all human. We're expected to have some sort of reaction or emotion. You know, we're not robots. So I think that making sure that there is that, you know, mental check-in with your employees, however it's going to be communicated, whether it's, you know, putting, you know, your insurance just capabilities to the forefront, you know, with the telehealth, or making sure that people are aware that this does exist and that we want you to take advantage of it. So I really, really appreciate everything that you have given us today. This was a great conversation. I think that I would like to see more conversations happening about what's going on internally inside of, you know, these workspaces, because the way that we communicate with our employees during this time, I think, is critical. Everyone is feeling some sort of emotions right now, and we want to make sure that everyone is safe, everyone is happy, and that they're performing at their best. So I do thank you for joining me on this. It was so good seeing you. I haven't seen you in forever. And I wish you the best of luck. I hope that you are staying safe as well. And we will be, I'm sure, in communication sometime soon here in the near future.
Yeah,
so,
thanks for having me. People can follow me on LinkedIn. Check me out on LinkedIn at Angharad Bhardwaj. I post a lot of resources. They come from trusted, you know, people from all over the world right now that are talking about COVID, but especially internal communication. So if they're kind of looking for some more ways to create content and trusted resources, I try to post a couple a week. So.
No, that's great. Everyone, please follow her. She's amazing. Not only is she one of the brightest woman that I know, but she's also very fashion forward as well. So,
Thanks.
and I hope everyone that's been following us, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to keep these conversations going, and we hope that everyone is staying home and staying safe, and be well, everyone. We'll talk to you
Thanks for
soon.
having me. Stay
You're
safe.
welcome. Bye.
Bye.